Right, so today the Tories seek to ban BDS, or they're on the road to. Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions is what it stands for if you didn't know. The tools used to bring down apartheid in South Africa in the 1980s. And Keir Starmer, of all things, appears to be looking at this as an opportunity to once again attack the left. So stick around and I'll explain. Frankly, if you don't oppose apartheid, what is wrong with you? It is inherently a racist endeavour, is it not? To treat some people differently from yourself. Treat them as a second-class citizen. Mistreat them. Look down on them. Make laws enacting the practice of looking down on them and mistreating them legal. Isn't that abhorrent? Isn't that utterly unacceptable that anyone should be able to do this? And when it was white supremacists doing it to black people in the 1980s in South Africa, the world eventually reacted to this. It had been happening in the 60s and 70s as well. It had been going on for a while. Come the 80s, something was finally done about it, using boycott, divestment and sanctions. Boycotts of goods, of barring them from attending sports events and ceasing to do business with them. Divestment campaigns, urging banks, churches, investment companies to pull their assets out. And sanctions, banning business dealings and ending all assistance and aid, ending free trade agreements and military dealings. That is how it was done then. That is how it works. We know it works. It's been proven to work. So that's how it must be done again should apartheid rear its ugly head. The problem we have this time, though, of course it has, is that the persecutors this time around are Israel. And as so many of us know all too well by now, if you call out their atrocious treatment of Palestinians, which absolutely is apartheid, and I have no problem calling Israel an apartheid state, you run the risk of being called an antisemite and a racist for it, because Israel would conflate anti-Jewish hatred with hatred of their country, which is a total falsehood. Besides, I don't hate the country. I hate the government and what they are doing there, what they are overseeing and enacting, and what it is doing to a people who have faced decades of oppression at successive Israeli government hands. So to anyone conflating the two and trying to make this an issue of racism by attacking Israel, I simply say get stuffed. I'm no racist, but you appear to be supporting such an endeavour yourself. No country can do whatever it likes, treat people however it likes, and be above reproach as it does it. Yet today, the Economic Activity of Public Bodies Overseas Matters Bill, better known as the Anti BDS or Anti Apartheid Bill, being put forward by the Tories, by Michael Gove, is a step towards that. It's an attack on our freedoms and our democracy. It stops us being able to choose. If we decide we don't want to buy Israeli goods or have anything to do with them, our public bodies are now being told that should this law pass, that will be a criminal offence for them to do that, and that we are not allowed to boycott said goods through such agencies. Because why? We aren't allowed a view anymore? We aren't allowed an opinion? That public institutions like local government or universities will not be allowed to make a stand, and us through them take a position on this, refuse to use Israeli goods by choice, decide not to invest in Israel by choice, engage with Israeli companies by choice, because national government decides it wants to pass a dumbass law saying so. And why? Because they're all in hock to the Israel lobby somewhere along the lines. It literally makes me sick to my stomach when I see the images of kids in hospitals, of soldiers beating people in the street or killing them, of homes and land being stolen, because this is what is happening every day in that apartheid state. Now we're all being told by law, if this passes, that we can't oppose that anymore. What kind of country does that? What kind of country is this then? All our freedoms are being stripped away because it's Israel this time. But what will it be next if we don't take a stand? You know how it goes. If they can get away with one thing, they'll do it again somewhere else. Simply legislate our ability to speak out away somewhere else. It's not like we're taking up arms or beating up Israeli neighbours we might have with sticks over it. We're simply exercising a choice to not fund a regime that appalls us. But instead, our equally appalling government want to ban us from doing that. Peaceful protest, as BDS is being banned where it comes to Israel. Every bit as much as a placard noisy protest at an Elbit factory would be these days. Opposing Israel and what that government are doing will be basically illegal. Perversely, this debate is happening right after Israel's biggest assault on the West Bank in years. The city of Jenin, again the target. More people, more kids dead or dying or grievously injured. And the Tories are today going to tell us that standing against that will make us anti-Semitic. It doesn't, and they're messed up if they say it. Now, it should be pointed out that this is the second reading of this bill. So after this, revisions can normally be made if it progresses to third reading. And actually, before I get on to Starmer's sneakiness, I'm coming to it, it has to be pointed out that Labour have laid down a reasoned amendment to this, which, were it to pass, would kill the bill off. But they know the Tories won't support it. So actually, it's a little more than lip service. And given Starmer is a self-confessed Zionist without qualification, I'm honestly surprised they've even done this. They know it'll fall. Tories are already saying they're going to abstain on it rather than vote for it, as many as 50 Tories are unhappy about this bill. But Tory rebels are as rare as hen's teeth, and this is likely to be the extent of any rebellion, a little bit of fence-sitting. So forget the token reasoned amendment. It's going nowhere. It's what happens after that that has got people looking at Starmer with a little bit more suspicion. He's doing what he usually does at such times as a difficult vote comes up and is making his fence nice and comfy to sit on for a bit. Yes, this appalling piece of legislation isn't so appalling as to prompt Sir Abstains a lot to actually find a principle and vote accordingly. He's going to abstain yet again, and he's whipping his MPs to do exactly the same. A pro-apartheid bill as this is, and he's demanding his MPs sit on their hands once more. Well, therein lies the trap. Any MP who doesn't want to be seen as supporting an apartheid state will find it very difficult to not vote against this bill on the basic point of principle. And principles amongst Labour MPs are chiefly found amongst those on the left, which Starmer would happily see gone by any measure he can. As far as amendments go, I did say a moment ago that amendments can normally be made at third reading. But this particular bill has raised concerns amongst trade unions and amongst human rights groups who have looked at it, had lawyers look at it, and stated to the Labour leadership in no uncertain terms that this bill is unamendable. In other words, you can't change it in any meaningful way. It either goes through or you vote it down entirely and scrap it. It makes the stakes of abstaining against the Labour whip that much higher here. Why it really is a bit of a trap. And one left MP, John McDonnell, has already stated he will defy the whip if the reasoned amendment falls, saying he couldn't look his constituents in the eye if he didn't. And Starmer knows that. Cue the withdrawal of the whip potentially. If enough of them do it, he won't be able to resist it. That's the trap. That's what I can see Starmer doing. If enough of the Labour left do the right thing and defy his weaselly abstention instruction, and this is going to be a whip a few will struggle with voting along with. If they do, as McDonnell said, how can they look their constituents in the eye? By having tacitly supported apartheid, which is what they'll have basically done if they abstained. You didn't vote against this. Why should I vote for you? Is what they'll have asked of them. And that's going to hurt. Starmer and his lot, they don't care. They want your vote once every 5 years. They'll sing the song of vote for us to get the Tories out and then carry on exactly where Sunak left off if they win. Nothing changing. Utterly amoral. But people will always fall for it, sadly. But those with a social conscience, those with morals, those who genuinely care about other people, those that we really ought to have more of in Parliament, they'll be punished for their humanity. If my prediction comes true, then Keir Starmer may well be the most mercenary, inhumane political leader we've ever seen, prepared to use apartheid to rid himself of more of his own left wing. Would you put it past him? Would you take that bet? And after you've hopefully liked, shared and subscribed to the channel, hopefully having found this informative, here's another video for you, a little recommendation where Starmer has already been ridding himself of left-wing MPs by using the upcoming boundary changes coming in ahead of the next election to cover his deselection of them, putting his little trap in a bit more perspective maybe. And I'll catch you on the next video, I hope. Cheers, folks.